Alright guys, welcome back to the channel and another match of WWE 2K17 news, as IGN's Vincent Giannino spent last Sunday with WWE 2K's executive producer Mark Little, where he was able to try out this year's game, and he's now shared some of the details of what he experienced, which includes some new information on some of this year's new features. Now, before getting the details to accompany the article, which I'll leave a link to in the video description, 2K released this brand new screenshot of the game in action as we see cover star Brock Lesnar brawling with the future of the WWE, Seth Rollins, who, as you can see, features his brand new attire from his return at Extreme Rules, along with his updated hairstyle, which is now fully black as opposed to having a blonde streak. As for Lesnar, as we've seen previously in his entrance, 2K have added in some replacement logos for Lesnar's sponsors due to copyright issues, therefore you can see the 2K logo on Lesnar's shorts, and although you can't see it in this screenshot, there's also a Visual Concepts logo. Aside from the models, this screenshot also shows off one of this year's new features with the addition of crowd fighting, and it also confirms that we don't have to break the barricade in order to enter the crowd, as it's still fully intact behind the pair. As for the arena, again, this is the old Raw arena, as due to the updates taking place so recently, it doesn't look as though we will see the new arena make it into the game in time. However, while the updated Raw arena might not make it into the game in time, there are plenty of updates this year as we move on to some of today's new details. First up, as mentioned by Mark last week, ladders are one of the things that have been updated this year, and thanks to Vincent, we now know how. This year, when you play a ladder or a TLC match, rather than being able to place the ladder in any part of the ring, this year there's 5 specific positions it can be placed. First up, we'll have 4 set positions around the ring in front of the ropes, which when setting up in this position sees the ladder positioned perfectly so that moves can be done off it, likely so they land on the outside, or so another player can push the ladder over, causing both players on the ladder to land on the ropes. Aside from those 4 positions, the 5th sees the ladder set up in the middle of the ring, which is positioned perfectly for players to climb and retrieve the objects, meaning gone are the days of setting up the ladder, climbing to the top, and then realising you're not quite close enough to where you need to be. Now, to me, this sounds pretty good, although it does limit players from having the freedom to position ladders anyway to set up a specific spot, so that is one little worry. But that said, if it's only when positioning the ladder in the ring, then I don't really have too many issues with it. As long as you can still set up ladders on the outside, then I'll be happy to take this over placing them anyway, as it means it'll always be in the right position, so you can get the briefcase or do moves outside the ring or on the ropes, especially when you're playing in a Money in the Bank match, as if you're trying to set up the ladder in a certain position, like the centre of the ring, then having so many players in there always makes it awkward to set things up correctly. As for the outside, Vince also confirmed something that I'd been hoping would be in for a long time, and that's the ability to place the ladder from the apron to the barricade, as this sets up so many different possibilities. For example, the ladder could work like a table, allowing players to perform moves next to it, such as a powerbomb or an attitude adjustment, and that could then send your opponent through it. We can place a player on top of it and then climb to the top rope or the top of a ladder and put them through with a high flying move, or we could place them on it and then hit an outside dive through the ladder itself. Another option could also be to have it work like announce tables do, therefore we could actually climb on top of it and do an announce table style finisher to put your opponent through it. So there's plenty of different ways that we could be able to use this ladder in this way, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to trying out, especially following last week's reveal that WWE 2K17 will feature a full replay system, as it means we'll be able to capture all these different moments from the perfect position, and it's something that'll be really cool to piece together for videos. Next up on a list of new additions is a brand new rollout feature. Now, this comes into effect when playing multi-person matches, so for example in a triple threat or a fatal 4-way match, whenever a player takes a move that does a lot of damage, then that player will find themselves hurt and having to roll the outside the ring in order to rest up and return the action. Now, this is something I think is going to be perfect for those kind of matches, as it mirrors what we see on TV, as generally if you're watching a triple threat match, then it's not very often you would see all 3 stars in the ring and one watching while the other 2 wrestle. Instead, just like this new feature, one tends to roll outside after taking a move, and this new feature helps bring that realistic style into play. For the player on the outside, they don't necessarily have to stay there and rest. Instead, they'll have the option to rush back into the ring so they can break up a pinfall and save the match, but should they choose to stay outside, then the rest will benefit them, as they'll gain a temporary buff to help them out. So again, this is another feature that I really like the sound of, as it should lead to not only much more realistic multi-person matches, but as with 2K15 and 16 and the ability to crawl and then break up a pin at the last moment, then this new feature should once again make matches much more dramatic, as someone clears the ring, then goes for a pinfall, only to see someone rush back in and make the save just like we do on TV. Moving on, and one of the biggest announcements last week was that WWE 2K17 will not only feature crowd fighting, but it'll also feature backstage brawls. Today, Vincent shed some more light on this when he revealed there's 2 different ways to fight backstage. First off, there's your traditional backstage brawl in which you can choose to fight in one of 3 different areas and then fight until someone is knocked out. Additionally, you can also wrestle a no DQ style match such as Extreme Rules or Falls Count Anywhere, where you can not only wrestle in the crowd, but you can transition the fight backstage, meaning Falls Count Anywhere matches truly are Falls Count Anywhere matches this year, and for the first time in a long time, we can go from ringside to the backstage area and continue the fight. So this is one of the things that the community has been begging and pleading for ever since it was removed back in the SmackDown vs Raw series, and finally after a long wait, 2K have answered those calls and brought it back for WWE 2K17. Now additionally, while Vincent didn't get the chance to try this himself, he did reveal what Mark said, in that there will be a whole host of interactive props available to inflict damage with, as well as weapons and some backstage only OMG moments, so I can't wait to see what those entail and just what 2K have in store. Next up, as mentioned last week, taunts have been updated and we now have a little more information on how. This year, whenever our player uses a taunt, rather than just increasing your momentum, which was something that people would abuse online by escaping to the outside and then taunting continuously till they gained a finisher, this year taunts do a few different things. Firstly, there's still a momentum boost, but instead of boosting your momentum from the taunt, it instead increases the rate at which you gain momentum. So for example, say that you taunted and then performed a move, it sounds as though you'll gain more momentum from that as opposed to hitting the same move without taunting first. Additionally, some taunts are also said to give you a temporary damage boost, meaning again if you taunt before a move, then you should be able to inflict more damage to your opponent than you would if you didn't taunt. This year, to also try and make things easier and give players more chances to taunt, this year there's various new positions in which they can be performed, meaning you no longer can only taunt from a standing position. Moving on, and last year seen the addition of major reversals that happened mid-move and rewarded the player with extra momentum, albeit at the cost of 2 reversal stocks. The problem with this was due to the limited reversals in the game, performing a major reversal could leave you in a worse position should your opponent quickly counter back, as you would then be down on your available reversals. On top of that, the timing for the moves had to be exact, which meant they weren't an easy feat to achieve in the first place. This year, to try and improve the way they work, 2K have increased the reversal window, making it easier to pull off major reversals, and they've also brought in the added bonus that performing one actually blocks your opponent from being able to reverse. Meaning if you successfully perform a major reversal, such as during the attitude adjustment or the pedigree, then you could then perform a finisher of your own without having to worry about your opponent then being able to counter it. Finally, the last of the new details relates to the chain wrestling and submission systems, as this year when starting a match, instead of always locking up and going through the chain wrestling minigame, this year it only happens if both players attempt to grapple, or in other situations depending on your wrestler's style and personality, meaning not all matches will be forced to begin in this way. Additionally, when it comes to submissions, as I speculated last week, the announced secondary submission system is indeed of a breaking point style, meaning if you don't like the current wheel system, you can go into the options menu and change the submission system to the old button bashing style of the breaking point system. Should you wish to stick the current method of the wheel though, you'll be glad to know that 2K have refined it and it now works much smoother, but personally for me, I think I prefer the breaking point style, so that's the version I think I'll be using going forward. As for online, at present it's unknown which system will be used, but I would imagine players will have the option to choose a system pre-match. If it was me, I would say in terms of online matches, the breaking point system suits it much better, as anyone that's played WWE 2K17 online this year, then you'll actually know that the wheel system can suffer badly from lag. Anyway guys, that is all of today's news and all of the details on the new features. There's quite a lot to take in as 2K have been busy updating things this year, as given the decision to forego showcase mode, then they've had a lot more time to work on things, and I'm sure from the sound of what we're hearing about the game, it is greatly benefiting from it, at least in my opinion. But let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do you like the sound of these changes? Because I know a few people have said they want some kind of showcase or season mode, but personally for me, I like the updated gameplay other than showcase mode, as I would take that any day of the week, because I'm going to be playing the gameplay in terms of exhibition matches, universe mode, my career, online. All those different game modes are all going to get benefit from this, where if we just got a showcase mode, a lot of that time that's been used to bring in all these new features like crowd fighting, the ladder system, backstage brawls, we wouldn't really get probably 50% of that, because so much of that time would have been spent on showcase mode. So it would have been quite cool to get a Brock Lesnar showcase, but as 2K did say, a lot of the superstars weren't available for it, and because of that, I think they've made the right decision, and I cannot wait to try out this game and just see what the gameplay feels like. I have a feeling this year's game is going to be epic. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't had enough news today, stay tuned to the channel, as tomorrow sees week 3 of this year's roster reveal, so I'll be back back with more roster news tomorrow, screenshots and video to get stuck into. Until then, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, have an awesome day, I'll catch you later.